If you are facing mortgage foreclosure, today I am going to share with you my absolute most important tip on what you should do. Hi, I'm attorney Sean Mays. I'm a debt and mortgage foreclosure lawyer in Pennsylvania. I've handled thousands of foreclosure cases all across the state. My offices are in the Philadelphia area, but I've handled foreclosures from Pittsburgh to Erie. And in all those foreclosures, I'm going to share with you my number one most important tip for homeowners. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave those below. Also, if you have any suggestions for other content you'd like to see, hit me up and we can make a video and address that as well. So today I'm talking about my most important tip for homeowners facing foreclosure. And get ready for it, but this is it right here. It is a folder. It is a manila folder. And if you are facing foreclosure, and really if you're facing any kind of debt, but especially foreclosure, my tip to you, my most important tip for you is to get a manila folder. And what you're going to do with that folder is pretty simple. You're going to take every document, every piece of paper that you get from your mortgage company or your lender, and you're going to put it in that folder. It's really that simple. And let me explain why. Like I said, I've handled a lot of foreclosures in Pennsylvania, and I've had a lot of consultations with people facing foreclosure on their home. They're facing the reality of possibly losing their home. And when we start discussing their case, oftentimes, clients will tell me stories. They'll tell me, their views of how the banks have really either, sent them misleading documents, misleading letters, how they've wrongfully denied them for mortgage modifications. I've actually had clients tell me that their lenders have told them not to pay their mortgage while they're being reviewed for modifications. And these actually are violations of the law. These are defenses to foreclosure, and in some cases, they're actually, things that you can sue your lender over. But then when I ask to see the letters, when I ask to see documentation, they don't have any, or the letter's been lost, it's been misplaced. And that's something that you might ask your lender to give you. But what are you going to do when you ask your lender for a document that they sent you and they don't give it to you, or they say it doesn't exist? And so that's why I say if you are facing foreclosure, you need to get a manila folder here. It could be any folder in the world, really. It doesn't matter. You need to get one place where you take every single thing that your mortgage company sends you and you save it and you keep it. Like I said, I've handled a lot of foreclosures in Pennsylvania, and sometimes the best defense is a good offense. I really believe that when it comes to mortgage foreclosures. And there are a lot of laws out there that give homeowners grounds to sue their lender. When that really gives you leverage, if you're trying to stave off a foreclosure, or if you're having a dispute over fees that are being charged to you, having a valid lawsuit against your lender can be one way to leverage that and you obtain favorable results and get out of foreclosure. For instance, there's the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. There's the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, the Truth in Lending Act. And there are so many regulations now. Recently, if you've been keeping up with the news, you'll see that Congress created the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And with that have come a host of regulations governing the servicing of mortgages. And quite often, mortgage companies run afoul of these statutes and these regulations. And that's something that you can take them to task over. But you can only do that if you have evidence of it. And that's where it gets difficult. A lot of times clients will tell me, hey, they'll tell me what their mortgage company has done. And quite honestly, what they're telling me is absolutely sounds like a violation of the law. But they can't find the document. They can't find the letter. In other scenarios where clients have kept their documents, where clients have been organized, we've actually found violations that they didn't know about. And there have been, several cases, even in the past couple of years in my office, where clients have come in just days away from a foreclosure sale, and we end up actually saving the home from foreclosure and even getting cash settlements because those mortgage lenders violated the law. And we're able to do that because the clients have been organized. They've kept documents, they've kept the foreclosure notices. They've kept all of the letters and the solicitations that they get from their mortgage lenders and their attorneys trying to collect that debt. And we're able to comb over those and see, have they complied with the law? Have they complied with the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act? Have they complied with the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, etc.? One more tip. I will add a bonus tip for you today. And that is one more thing to put in your manila envelope, and that is just a pad of paper. Nothing fancy. Put a pad of paper in there. And I'll tell you why, and this might surprise you, but a lot of times I've had clients come in and tell me, hey, my mortgage company called me and they said this. My mortgage company called me and told me not to make a payment, or they told me they would do something that they didn't do. And obviously in that situation, you can't have any documentation of that, right? If you're talking about a conversation that you had. What you can do, though, is as soon as you hang up that phone, you get a pen and you get that pad of paper in that folder and you just make a diary of it. So if your mortgage lender calls you to discuss it, just right after you hang up, make a note. Make a note of what was said, when it was said. It may or may not be important, but being able to look at that paper, being able to be organized and have all those notices and have a record of your conversations might just be relevant. And there's another real good reason to do that, and that has to do with the rules of evidence. A lot of you have probably heard of hearsay, especially if you watch a lot of court TV shows. And that's simply a rule about out-of-court statements made for the truth of what's contained in those statements. That's called hearsay. So to sit into a foreclosure trial and say, hey, this person at the bank told me X, Y, and Z, that would be hearsay. But one way to get around that is through your notes. Notes made at the time of the phone call or right afterwards. We can't get it. If the bank's attorneys are awake, we're not going to be able to get in evidence of what this person said to you over the phone simply by testimony if they object. But what we can do is get your notes, get your recorded recollection in, made right after the phone call when it's fresh in your memory. You write down all the facts and everything that's important in that phone call. So if your bank calls you and says, don't make a mortgage payment, get that folder out, get that pen and paper out, and write it down as soon as you can. Really, there are a lot of defenses to foreclosure. There's a lot of ways to find alternatives to foreclosures with and without an attorney. But my most important tip that I can give anybody that's watching is it would make it a whole lot easier, if you get help from an attorney or even a housing counselor, if you keep all of the documents that your mortgage company sends you. You don't even necessarily have to read them. I recommend reading everything that you get sent by your mortgage company. But, if you don't have time, if you're busy, just chuck everything you get into that folder. And then when you come around to getting help, either through a housing counselor or an attorney, bring that folder with you. I mean, there could be valuable information in that folder. There could be, ways to save your home in that folder that you wouldn't even know about if you just threw those documents away. So once again, I'm attorney Sean Mays. I help people deal with debt and foreclosure issues. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Also, if you're just looking for a free consultation, feel free to call my office or you can visit me at maysfirm.com. And thanks for watching.